been over a week, hasn't it?
It's been over a week, which is not good. The goal is 2 a week. So, yeah, it's, but I've had a lot going on. I'll explain it on pod. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, CMP M14s, CCW in the VI, tactical trigger drama, and the Chronicles of Half-Sack.
Okay, good. I guess it's evening, everybody. This is Mongo and Marky, and this is episode 410 of the John1911 Podcast. Today is Wednesday, July 29th at 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, normal time stamps, just in case something, blows up in the world and we don't cover it on pod because, we're looking at computer screens right now. So, well, Mongo, how you been?
I've been doing all right. High pain day, but I'll survive.
Oh, I thought you were getting close to being done with all that.
I got a screw in my ankle that's backing out through the skin. It hurts like a son of a gun.
Oh, God. So they're going to, I hate to ask, are they going to screw it back in or are they going to slit and pull it out? Like, is the goal to have the screws out?
Well, what's worse is it's hardware. It's a screw left over from hardware that was removed under the last surgery, and I have no idea why they didn't take it out at the time.
For the listeners who may not know, I don't know if we've ever actually addressed this on pod. You were in a vehicle accident. You were hit by a drunk driver. That's
right. Drunk driver, female, 16 years ago. 16 years and a month.
So, on the mend. I was hoping maybe you might be better sooner rather than later. So, walk around a little bit. So, how long has that screw been in there?
About 16 years.
Why is it backing out? Like, are you vibrating or something?
I have not. Apparently, I've got a loose screw, and this proves it.
So, we're going to start. Mongo needs blue Loctite.
No, I need red Loctite. I want the permanent stuff.
Okay. All right, Mongo. Wait a minute. Isn't there one? Isn't it like green above red? Isn't there one above red that's like you can use it to stick space shuttle tiles on or something? I don't know what it is. So, all right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. So,
it's nothing.
Yeah. So, well. Lots to talk about, lots going on. I'm just breeze through some things very quickly here at the top of the list, just like old news, just John1911 stuff. The Operation Kill All the Ticks in the Ohio Valley has not only commenced, it's well along its way. I had to calculate it today, we've put 460 or 480 pounds of Tried design or something, whatever it is. It's stuff we buy at Lowe's. And we've done, the gate, the driveway. We've done all around the barn. We've done all the shooting positions, and we've done the pit and the road to the pit, and over by the septic system and everything. So, and I haven't seen a single tick. That stuff works very well. And the reason I'm saying it is I've had multiple emails from people asking, what are you using to get rid of ticks? And I literally have to take a screen grab and send them a picture of the bag. So you can go to the website. It'll be about the spreader. And in the comments section, there's a photograph of the bag of the stuff that we were buying, and we get it from Lowe's. So that would be the tick stuff. Let's see what else is there.
They use diatomaceous earth down here occasionally to get rid of ticks out of yards. And I think it works on fleas too. Somehow it gets under the part of their exoskeleton and starts braiding them until I don't know what it is. Something along those lines.
Okay. Well, it's probably healthier, right?
Yeah. Diatomaceous earth is just rough sand. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, this stuff is you have to decide whether it's safe for crops or not. And I guess this stuff is not really good for crops. I think it's basically kind of like wasp spray, where it's, in essence, it's, like a nerve agent. And it just, they're gone instantly. It's a granule. And, like I've put so much down. Well, I've done everything up here, and then also I've hit the target stands. I've hit the 100, the 200. I've hit some of the miscellaneous targets, and I've also put it around the 500, 600 yard targets, just so we can get out and walk around and maybe not have to worry about ticks, like if you don't wander too far off. But I put so much of this stuff down, I almost wonder, like at some point, is the DNR they're going to detect it like in the Ohio River, try to trace it back and be like, well,
make your place a Superfund site.
Yeah. My response is, don't eat the fish. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I am not getting alpha-gal. Fuck all you bitches. I am not getting alpha-gal. If I can't drink protein drinks, eat dairy, and eat steak, I will die. So, I'm sorry. So that's the decision I've made. And you know what? The DNR and Dr. Fauci ain't going to stop me. So that's where we're at. So I want to get that out of the way. Have you heard about the CMP's announcement that they are going to
the M14s? Yeah.
The M14s.
Second item on my list here.
Have you, I've been so busy because I've had shooters, and actually I've got people coming out here tonight. They're going to shoot at night. They'll be here. So, because I'm assuming that you're, commiserating with all your fellow degenerate machine gun friends, and have you figured out how the CMP is doing this, or where these guns are coming from, or what's happening?
That's actually an interesting question, given the history of ATF and M14s. They have in the past, they have confiscated M14s that were re-welds, basically two halves of a receiver that were re-welded together, and then had already taken the on an M14, the selector switch hangs off a lug that's on the rear of the receiver on the right-hand side.
Yep.
And the only difference between a semi-auto receiver and a full auto receiver is that lug that hangs down there. So people, before you could buy M14s easily, they would take two halves from the government chop wagon, and they would weld them, they'd get overlapping sections, and they'd match them up and re-weld them together to get a semi-auto M14, and they'd remove that lug before they welded them together to be compliant. Well, at some point, fine. ATF confiscated a lot of those re-welded receivers, claiming they were M14s because that's what they said on the back of them.
Kind of like when did that happen? Was that in the 70s, or was that?
Yeah, later? that was 70s, 80s era time frame. And it's kind of like the M1 carbine versus an M2 carbine. Those two guns are exactly identical in the receivers. There's no differences other than one says M-1 and one says M-2. And ATF gets all butthurt if it says M-2 on it, unless it's obviously a registered weapon. But you can't have a semi-automatic with M-2 on it. So I think they were going after M14s back then, saying the same thing.
So they basically, you couldn't technically differentiate between the receivers, so they decided to default to the markings. That sounds to me what they decided to do.
Right. Now, remember, ATF's got a rule that says once a machine gun, always a machine gun.
I wanted to ask you about that. Go ahead.
So you can't simply take in this case, an M14 receiver and whack off that lug. And even though the receiver is identical to a semi-auto receiver now, they declare, well, it was never officially destroyed. Where a receiver that was destroyed and re-welded supposedly would be all right if it didn't have that lug before it was re-welded back together.
Yeah.
So this is an exception of the rule. Now, there is no law saying once a machine gun, always a machine gun. And ATF themselves have violated this several times by imports that were brought in by accident, and ATF screwed up and approved them. And they got out into the public and they finally said, well, we'll retroactive these, or famous cases, FN-49s, the select fire versions came in, and they're 30-06 select fire guns, and they were brought in, and they were allowed to be, once they were in the United States, ATF allowed the importer to grind off the where the selector went. And that was one of the few cases. But their rule of once machine gun, always a machine gun is an ATF rule only. It is not it's not law written by Congress.
See that I just recently heard that because, I'm old. Like, I remember when CMP was DCM, as do you. And so the once the machine gun, always a machine gun thing has been so ingrained in all of our minds. I thought that was part of the gun control. I thought that was law. I didn't know that was an interpretation.
No,
so
interpretation.
If they are open to changing that interpretation, what I think would be interesting is in a lot of countries around the world that they allow firearms. And some people are surprised where they do, where like you can have AKs and you can have these guns. The only difference between a machine gun and a semi-automatic version is like they'll do like a little weld or a little tack or so. You know what I mean? Like it's not nearly as draconian as it is in the United States.
They'll put a selector block typically in them, or
and so like all over like places like this. The traditional example is what the hippies will say. My mythical hippie is government person will say, Europe does it right. We need to be more like Europe. We need to be more regulated. We need to have more laws. We need to be more civilized. And they don't realize that in most parts of the world, most semi-automatic guns that could be machine guns are just blocked. You could just remove the block. In the United States, that never flies, and it would change the milsurp landscape in this country like wholesale if we could just start blocking machine guns or modifying receivers to make them semi-automatic. We wouldn't have to necessarily do all these, blown out parts kits that are now torch cut instead of saw cut.
True. And the guns would be safer if they retain their timing sears in them, which we call auto sears typically. But basically that is a safety mechanism to make sure that hammer can't drop unless the bolt is forward. And on semi-automatics, that is removed in the U.S. So that's a safety feature that's been removed just to comply with the machine gun standards.
For the ATF, if any ATF agents are listening in, is it Martinsburg, West Virginia? Where's the technical branch in West Virginia? If they're listening, you need to change your rule on once a machine gun, always a machine gun. You have to do it for the children. Because it's not safe.
Exactly.
You have to do it for the children.
I don't know. Do you remember when the Mac 90s with thumb hole stocks came in? They were machine gun receivers, and the Chinese just put a rivet through that hole where the auto sear was supposed to be.
Actually, I do remember that.
ATF went wild tracking all those guns down.
Yeah, I do remember that actually. So what is among the machine gun Illuminati and the darkest corners of the milsurp universe? What is the current thinking about the situation of machine guns being imported or these once a machine gun, always machine gun? Is there any theory as to where they think this is going to end up, or they think it's going to shut down?
There's been some discussion online about where are these M14s coming from to start with? And I haven't seen anything yet. But there was M14s made for different countries. All the ones made for the U.S. military, Uncle Sugar Daddy put them through the muncher, rather than giving them up to the civilians.
Yeah, but I think if I remember, the word was that in the 90s, Bill Clinton, because this was during the assault weapons ban, they passed the assault weapons ban, or maybe was it before? Well, yeah, the assault. Yeah, so I guess did they destroy? Was it 400,000 M14s? Is that the number that's currently floating around?
Oh, that I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, 400,000 of them. And also, hold on one second. I had to clear my throat. It also, if this once a machine gun, always a machine gun statement is not a law, but a rule. Think of the opportunities this presents for CMP, I was going to say DCM, to surplus old M16A1 guns.
Well, see, there's a bit of difference here, remember. And I know what you're going to end up saying in the end, but with the way the M14 is, once you hack off that lug, there's no way to get a selector or the full auto parts onto it. Where the M16 is, if you plug that hole, it's like plugging the hole in the AK receiver that we just discussed, the MAK-90s.
Well, okay, so I have okay, so you know what I'm going to say.
You're going to talk about that 6530 that's got that Colt bastard of a block in there to keep you from drilling the hole.
They hogged out the hole, and then they put a block in there. And, I think that would be okay.
Yeah, but see, that doesn't have bayonet lug, so it's safe.
So
you don't know how hard that was to say with a straight face.
Yeah, it's like, hey, now, better watch that bayonet lug. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So okay, do the denizens of the deepest, darkest corners of the milsurp community, do they think these guns were imported, or do they think these guns were in the U.S.? Is there any thinking or any leaks coming out of CMP?
Well, not that I know of. I'm sure somebody may have heard something or anything, but I haven't. But apparently, it may have been Taiwan that were set up to produce M14s. So these may be Taiwanese M14s.
Which, are they going to have small stocks on them?
I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it could be really wild. They could be parts kits, and they're putting new receivers on them that are U.S. made, since they just started making Grand receivers. Okay, all right. I was going to ask that question too. So, there's been companies for years that have been making M1A receivers. LRB makes them. Springfield makes them. I don't think they make them for anybody on the outside. And Springfield may be farming them out. And then there's a company, Fulton Armory.
Fulton Armory makes them, and I believe they make them.
I think the issue is Springfields are cast, and Fultons, I believe, are forged or made from forgings.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So, okay, and also, is Faxon Firearms somehow? Because I've heard Faxon might be making the barrels for the Garands. And so I wonder, so maybe this is all much ado about nothing in their new receivers, and I wonder if maybe Faxon's even involved. I could reach out to Bob Faxon. I probably should. I mean, we've talked. He knows who we are. He's local to us. Faxon Firearms is local to us. I wonder if you tell us.
Yeah, I have no idea at what level this is all coming about. It'd be interesting once they do start selling them to see what the receivers are marked.
I bet you, since they're making Garand receivers, because there's some company that CMP has, because this has been, let's just back up 30,000 feet here for the listener at home. So Civilian Marksmanship Program is they used to be, the DCM, they were actually like a part of the Department of the Defense, Department of War. And, Howard Metzenbaum and all these dudes, they wanted to, didn't want to be part of guns going to civilians from the government. So they rolled them out as a nonprofit, I believe, right? CMP is a nonprofit now?
It's a quote civilian or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but they have a special relationship that they're able to get stuff from the government when the government's going to surplus things. So, but as a nonprofit that's got to run these facilities and matches and sell things, because the support, the whole point of DCM and the CMP was to promote marksmanship in the civilian world, and basically they've been living off of World War II surplus for 80 years. And that's coming to an end. So they've gotten real aggressive up there at CMP, or maybe I should say down there, because to me they're in Camp Perry, but I think they're really like down in Alabama. They have signed a deal with TSIS. I call them TSIS. They're making the GI 1911s because they're running out of 1911s. So you can get a TSIS-made GI 1911 through the CMP at like their discounted rates, so you can shoot matches or use it as a base gun and do whatever. And I've posted some TSIS guns. I guess these slides and frames are forged. That seems to be the biggest sale point for a lot of the people, the fanboys of the TSIS. And I think that's commendable that CMP has done that, because somebody has to do it. So they also have been reproducing the Garands, and I remember there was a company that they had said that they had contracted with. They named the company who was making the Garand receivers. Like, they're making these guns because they're running out of Garands, and it wasn't any of the companies that you and I had mentioned. So that's that company. And so I'm saying all that to say this. Is there really that much difference? I mean, there is, but not from like a tooling perspective. Is there that much difference from an M1 Garand receiver to an M1A receiver? I mean, there is, but it's not like comparing a Glock to a 1911. It's more like a 1911 to a 2011. Like, there's some commonality there.
Well,
right.
I think it's all going to go back to, is it going to be a forged receiver versus a cast receiver?
You know what?
A forged receiver takes a forging, obviously, and you got to have dies for doing that.
Yeah, let's see. So let me look.
And then dies aren't cheap.
Yeah. Let's see here. Filibuster for me a while to search up something. Garand CMP. The production. Go ahead.
There has been talk about what price are these going to come at, and they don't. The reason they have, a lot of people have ruled out that they're going to use the receivers that are on the guns currently, is because the price would be way too high. But what, Fulton and Springfield are going to hate to have competition from CMP on the M14, because they've had those locked up for quite a while now.
I mean, it's entirely possible that, CMP may just be working with someone like Fulton.
They could be.
Fulton is, it's not like Fulton is unknown to CMP. Fulton Armory basically is a CMP. That's their customer base. You're shooting Camp Perry, you're shooting CMP matches, leg points. Fulton Armory is one of the companies. These people, they've met. So I would, unless there's some reason why they would want to use the people that are making the Grand receivers, unless I would at least run it by Fulton. So I just looked, and this is actually AI that gave me the answer. So yes, new production M1 Garand rifles by the Civilian Marksmanship Program feature newly manufactured commercial forged receivers developed in partnership with Heritage Arms. These receivers are forged rather than cast, utilizing original U.S. government drawings and specs. So maybe, and they're doing them in 308, which I think is I want a 308 than $1,000. And price read an MSRP of $1,900, which that doesn't seem that bad to me for $1,000. Like, especially like a new one, like new production, new barrel. Like that seems like, I know people are used to getting surplus $600, $700. But those days are.
I don't think that price has been around for quite a while. Actually,
yeah. I mean, like you probably can't touch $1,000 for really like a torn up one for like maybe $1,100. Am I still off? I haven't looked at them.
No, I think you're right. I think the worst beat up CMP guns that went out were at the 1,100 level.
Yeah, then like you're 13, and then you're getting up in like 1,900, and so I think this is right there. I wonder. I mean, unless this Heritage Arms company can't handle the work or doesn't want to work. But I would think too, it would be in CMP's best interest. Like a lot of people shoot M1As at Camp Perry at the national matches.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Doc, that's what he shot at Camp Perry.
I used to shoot high power, and I had a national match M1A, which I sold in '94 when the assault weapon bill came in. But
yeah, and like so, just from the logic of how CMP thinks or how they should think, they should at least long term be in a position to support their customer base, their user base, because it's their future. They have to make money off those people to keep everything open. And maybe they've worked out a way they can get, every time they can score M14 guns, they can cut them up, and they've got receivers, and you can get one directly from CMP.
Well, remember, the Trump administration changed the barrel import standards or bullshit that Biden had placed in, where they were making them chop up every barrel.
Yeah.
So supposedly they can import the barrels now. So that's one less part they got to fund to come up with when assembling the guns, you know.
Yeah, I mean that was a big selling point on like my ZB-26 parts kit, was the barrel was intact. I think. I mean, I don't know. I have no insider information, but I feel like this is not going to be a one-off from CMP. Everything I have seen them do has led me to believe that they are trying to solve the World War II surplus problem, and maybe they'll do something with M14s that'll be maybe like collector grade or something special about them. But in the long run, CMP is going to start selling M14s, M1As. They're just going to.
Wouldn't it be neat if they took all those Syrian MP44s and brought them in as semi-autos? Should we start that rumor right now?
Yeah, we should start. Yeah. Rumor is, I heard on John 1911, they got that Mongo guy. He knows everything. So he's got a screw loose.
He's got a screw loose. Exactly.
So, all right. So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, I was curious is there anything else we need to cover on that, or we beat that horse to death?
I think it's dead.
Thoroughly beat. Okay. All right. So, I just going to mention this. This is just my own personal glee. So, we've got like just in the past 15 years or 20 years, like CCW in this country has really changed. Like, the ability to be able to carry concealed guns around, like because a lot of the laws really came from the late 60s and in the 70s with all the political violence and all the crime, and like basically only bad guys carry guns, right? That was like the thing. So the laws have changed. And so like even now, like I have an Ohio CCW permit. My permit is good in a lot of different places because we have a fairly, I wouldn't say substantial, but more robust process for getting the license. You have to go through some training and, classes and shooting. And so a lot more states recognize our CCW, including Puerto Rico. So if you have a CCW permit issued from the state of Ohio, you can carry in Puerto Rico. Now, maybe every other state can do that, but I remember when Ohio was one of the first, and I thought that was interesting. And I'm bringing that up to mention this. I don't want property in Puerto Rico. The U.S. Virgin Islands seems pretty interesting. And apparently there is a group that is suing. Let me find it here. GOA sues Virgin Islands over non-resident gun ban. So last December, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a complaint against the Virgin Islands Police Department alleging that the territory's unreasonable delays and conditions on lawful gun owners' rights create an unconstitutional permitting process in violation of the Second Amendment. So in April, the governor responded by signing an executive order banning carry in government buildings. So I'm just going to say this. So, just to, parrot our current president, I think the Virgin Islands is a little shithole island. Hey, you want to be U.S. territory. I think this is going to be super interesting. Like a lot of these more exotic U.S. territories that actually will honor Second Amendment rights. I think, I don't know. No one else is interested in this story, but I'm interested in the story because, I never even would consider real estate in the Virgin Islands because I'm just like, yeah, fuck you bitches. So now you want to lay out on the beach, get a tan, and have your gun at the same time. I want to lay out on the beach, get a tan, and have the gun leave a gun-shaped tan line on my thigh. Because I travel around and I always inquire about gun laws. And what was it? Where was I at? Was it Turks and Caicos or was it the Bahamas? Turks and Caicos. They had a gun range. They had one gun range. It was over by the airport, and it was very restrictive on everything over there. And then I remember I was in business and I was in Monaco, and I had tried to make arrangements to shoot at the Manganese Gun Club, and they wouldn't let me come over and shoot that day because there is a gun club in Monaco, and I just so wanted to just go there. I just wanted to see it, but since I was not a Manganese, I think that was the term, non-Manganese, non-member, they wouldn't grant me, and the concierge at the hotel, there was nothing he could do, and he really was trying. And I was like, all right. He was like, I've never had anybody ask for this before. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on, Jack. So, yeah. So anyway, the Virgin Islands, maybe one day I'll be able to carry my Wilson 1911 in the Virgin Islands and do a podcast from the beach while Mongo screws his screw in.
You need to put on the John 1911 store mask in the shape of a 1911 for those people who go down to get a tan and then shove it in their back like a Mexican carry and get a white outline on their back where the gun should be.
Probably get stopped by some customs. I don't know if you get stopped by customs coming in, but you definitely get stopped by customs going out. So I thought you would find this interesting. I wanted to share this one with you, and it hasn't been covered. So Ukraine and I have the website to give it to you. Ukraine has established something they're calling the Trophy Lab. And so it's a facility where they've captured these Russian weapons, and was it 4 years of war now? And, all kinds of stuff. But there's guns. And you can sign up. You can either go visit the Trophy Lab, or you can sign up. I think you have to have you have to get approved credentials, but I don't think it'd be that difficult as long as you can kind of show reasonable,
press or writer credentials. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll call out the website. It's trophylab.mod.gov.ua, and I'll have it in there. But basically, you can go in there, and there's all kinds of stuff that, it includes drones, tanks, small arms, anti-tank weapons, electro-optical systems, trucks, military automobiles, radar, ELINT, electronic warfare stuff, guided bombs, ballistic and hypersonic missiles from the 1960s to last year. Note, many of the ballistic missiles and hypersonic ones were reconstructed from fragments collected at the impact site. There are numerous models of air, ground, and naval drones, many of which at this date are still being used. So I thought that was really interesting. There's even North Korean stuff. Let's see what we got here. North Korean ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, one-way attack drones, North Korean small arms.
Well, what everyone wants to get their fingers on from North Korea is those PKM type of machine guns that have in the feed cover have the ability to take a magazine.
Yeah. That I always hoped that Trump, he was going to make a deal with North Korea, like when he went there and he was like, "Look, we can put in resorts. You've got all this coastline. We can do a deal." And then, since North Korea is basically an armed camp that only manufactures weapons and tractors for tells, it's like, well, then we could allow them to make semi-automatic versions of all their guns and sell them into the U.S. That was my fantasy. So
I think they're on an embargo list, I presume, just like Russia.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no, I do know North Korean parts kits are coming in. Have come in.
Actually, aren't those from Ethiopia or something that bought guns from North Korea? So they're basically taking those and bringing those in, and they're calling them North Korean.
There's a cooling off period, right, where stuff can cool off in some cases. Is it 20 years?
Ethiopians been running around with them for quite a while or something, and now the guns are old enough that they need to be farmed out to Americans who will buy anything.
And doesn't North Korea have the reputation for making the absolute worst AK?
Pretty much.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that, but I think it'd be cool to have
I'm not an AK connoisseur, but from what I understand, yes, the AKs from North Korea are pretty lousy.
Just because I know that the shorts and reels, I'm sorry, kids, the reels are really hot right now, so hot. I would love to have a reel that has a shoot-off between my Valmet 71, M71, and a North Korean AK. I'd love a North Korean AK in 5.56. Oh, my God. Come on. Let's get her done. Let's make a deal. Come on. So anyway, Trophy Lab in Ukraine. I thought maybe you might be interested in that because maybe you absolutely could get access to this, and then you could share it with us.
Do they have a list on the website of what they've got? I mean, the exact stuff, not general.
I don't know if it's behind the credential wall or not, but the article does. I'll look into it and we'll figure it out. Maybe you can get in there. I mean, I don't know. I don't want North Korean or North Korea. I don't want Ukrainian government sending me love notes, being like, take that shit off your website. I don't want to get an ITAR violation from Ukraine So, but anyway, yeah, I'll if you're interested, let's see if let's get you submitted, and we'll see if we can get you in. I'm surprised no one else has talked about it in media, like none of the gun people. But I get it because of all the defense and government stuff that I'm,
I think you're just plotting to get me shanghaied by one of their little groups that run around there throwing people in the military.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, I can't go into details. I cannot go into details. But Doc, right? Of him.
Yeah.
He's the engineer over here. So, he is a pretty high, he's retired, but he's a pretty high-end engineer that had access to quite a lot of, I don't want to say secret because it could be whatever, but like stuff that technology that they don't want out, that foreign governments want. And I'll tell you what, just recently there was another, in my opinion, and in Doc's family's opinion, because they ran it by me, and I'm like, dude, this is foreign bullshit. Trying to, trap and try to get stuff from him. They're out there. Like this
they send any Chinese honeypots towards them.
They're lining up to do it. This doesn't appear to be Chinese, but so far, he's been run at by Chinese before, and this is not like just made up high in the sky. Like, for example, he was advised at one point in his life, if he were to ever leave the U.S. just to travel, that he should let the FBI know, like, by the way, I'm going on vacation to wherever. Like, I mean, definitely China. But, like, if he were to, like, go to, like, I don't know, somewhere in Europe, like, if he were to leave the country, the FBI was like, could you please let us know? Just so we know. Like,
Well, if he turns down any good-looking Chinese ones, send them my way. I'm sure I can disappoint him for 3 minutes.
Well, there's a bunch of people that are associated with him, and like I used to hear the stories of, and like some of them were directly honeypotted run-bys at him from China, and it was ridiculous. Like, there was one, again, this isn't Doc, this is somebody else, where, they're drinking, and this is unusually pretty girl. They're sitting in a hotel bar in a public area, and all of a sudden, they're just talking, and there's just a whole group of them, whatever. And all of a sudden, this pretty girl starts asking more and more and more technical questions. Like, imagine like Miss October wanting to know the atomic whatever structure of whatever, like, alloy or this or that or in design, like just all of it, it's like, and you just like, yeah, I realize that then the people are telling me the story being like, I know what's happening. And, I'm just like,
well, we got to go back to my room. I keep my secrets hidden in my jockstrap.
Oh, there was another one. I'm not going to say. Well, no. And here was another one. So I don't want to say what country, and I don't want to say what company. But these people, they were engineers, they were technical people, and they would go to this foreign country because there was a contract to do work for this technology that has a civilian and military, crossover, dual use, you could say. And, they're not doing the military stuff, they're doing the civilian stuff, but their company does both. And every time they went to this country, not only were they like, don't bring your computers or don't bring your phones or don't do this, but they were always stayed in the same hotel. And they noticed, like, whenever, like, they went multiple times, it was always the same, like, let's say like on the 12th floor, it was like they were in the corner. Well, the next time they'd be on the 9th floor and it was in the corner. They were always in the same vertical room of the same corner of the hotel. And they figured out that was they're either using I'm making this up, like shooting a laser to bug the rooms because you can hit a laser against window panes. But there's something about all those rooms on that side of the building that makes it easier for them to surveil. And like just crazy shit like that happens all the time. It's like we used to always get kind of, depending on what you're doing, you get kind of briefed on this. Here's another one and then we're going to get off this. So, you know who used to be really bad about this? And I'm sure it's still the case. The French. This was 30 years ago. It was known in certain circles that if you flew first class on a Air France airplane, that everything in first class was bugged. Because the French government wants to steal corporate secrets so they can give it to French companies to get an advantage over American companies. And so it was understood that first class on all Air France aircraft servicing the United States, it's fully bugged. And I'm saying that on a podcast. And,
I would say
like, bullshit. They're like,
none of the engineers from any of the arms companies ever flew in first class then, based on how the French design of guns went.
Yeah. So, yeah. So it was just fun, fun stories and all that. Speaking of how guns are designed, have you seen, I don't even know this company. Have you heard of a company called Tactical Triggers?
I have not.
Called TTI, Tactical Triggers Incorporated, maybe?
Not off the top of my head, no. So
apparently they make Glock aftermarket triggers, and there's been a rash of these guns. So I guess they make them for Glock. And then, there's a lot of people that make Glock clones. And then there's people that make clone Glock magazines. Like most, obviously, Glock mags are polymer. And then there's metal mags. And apparently there's some combination. Someone has figured out, this has been happening at matches. If you take a Glock clone, put a tactical TTI trigger in it, and you're loading a metal Glock magazine into the gun, it'll trip the sear and go off. And this has been confirmed because people wear the meta glasses, or they wear cameras on their hats, and clear as you can see it. The dude's not anywhere near that trigger. And he slams that magazine just right up in front of him. He slams that mag because he's looking at the gun. Bam. And it goes, the round is like, I saw a quote or a comment. The round goes, not only not in a berm, it like goes into space. And it's like, take that, Starlink. All these aftermarket guns and these aftermarket triggers. I hate them. I'm just, it's the tolerances and trying to get all that to work. There's a reason why police departments have all these rules about what they'll let you do to your guns.
Speaking of NDs or ADs, has the 40 caliber circumcision guy figured out what he did yet?
Yeah. What was that? Oh, so there's a story. We'll have it. Where is it? There's the
guy shot his pecker and one testicle off.
Yeah,
with a 40 caliber Glock.
A Glock 23, and I'm like, he shot a Glock 23, and he's in like a training class. And part of me's like, I used to very early in my gun career, I tried carrying a Glock 23. And because I like the size, but it was like probably a Gen 2 at the time. That's how early it was. And this gun, oh my God, this gun beat the shit out of me. I'm a big guy with large. I wear XL. It was like, this gun's awful. Because like everyone's got to have a 40. And I'm just thinking, it's 2026. There's a guy in a training class and he's apparently a gun guy, and he's going through a high round count class with a Glock 23. I'm like, God damn, son. Maybe the new ones are, the Gen 4s or something are better, maybe Gen 5s because they have the, a better spring in them. But man, like it's exhausting shooting those guns. So yeah, he pulled the trigger and he put it right through. It was a hollow point too. Didn't he say it was a hollow point?
Yeah, he said he was rotating his ammo out by firing his hollow points or
and
carrying
he put a hollow point. It went through his holster, appendix carry, through his penis, and through one of his testicles. And so they had to remove a testicle, and he's got a catheter. And apparently, because he's also a fireman, apparently unfortunately, how it works, of people that may not know this, like if something traumatic happens to you, everyone's concerned. But if it turns out that you're not going to die, be prepared for the hazing. And so once they figured out that this guy, because he had to be life flighted, once they figured out this guy wasn't going to die, apparently the guys at his firehouse call him Half-Sack. So
if the same thing happened to me, all my friends would never let me live it down either. So,
oh yeah, and I saw a comment. A guy, it is terrible, and I'm not one of these guys that's like, you're stupid. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the gun was or the trigger or the situation or whatever. Looking at the picture he posted of the holster, it appears the gun discharged when it was already out of the holster. So it didn't blow out the bottom of the holster. It went through the holster externally. It's pretty interesting, pretty telling. But, a guy in the comment section goes, man, it's really big of you to have the ball to post this video. I'm just like, dude. I mean, it's like, that is terrible.
No, it's a good comment.
It is. I mean, just the story. Like,
oh yeah, it's a terrible story. But
I always, there was a guy on YouTube named Tex Grubner, and he shot himself trying to do retention shooting with a Kimber 1911, and I never forgot his name. He seemed like a nice man. He was a kid at the time. But it's like, I'm not going to laugh at Tex Grubner because for the grace of God, there goes I. And, like these striker guns and these appendix carry situations. Again, the guy was like, look, he goes, I screwed up, but, no one knows if, like, I don't know the condition of the gun. We don't know if there was something in the holster. We don't know if there was something wrong with the gun. We don't know if he just yanked on it too early. Statistically speaking, he probably did. But, it's like, I'm sure Tex Grubner's like, thank God someone else is finally taking my place. Like, Fauci's going to...
Tex only wounded his leg, though. He got off easy.
Oh my God, he's not Half-Sack. Oh man, like it's I look at this and like, I've thought about this quite a bit because I carried appendix so long. Back when I was doing it, everybody hated it and said I was an idiot, and we called it Mexican. But I was carrying a 1911, and thumb safety, grip safety, and there is something to be said. When you think of a 1911, an appendix carry, especially with the grip safety, but you've got the thumb safety, and it is a single action gun, but that half cock is so big, and no pun intended, but the half cock notch on that hammer is so big. Like, it's actually a pretty safe system, unless you actually pull the trigger. And like, even, I'm not trying to virtue signal, but I actually, as a 1911 user, I don't draw a 1911 the way most people do. I don't, like, some people will lay like the Glock guys will do this. Like they'll lay their thumb on the back of the, across the striker plate, across the back of the slide, and then so the thumb will be on top of the gun. Then they'll pull the gun out and slide the thumb around to the left side of the gun. I always, when I holster and reholster, my thumb is under the thumb safety. So when I'm drawing, I have to jam my thumb behind the gun, between the gun and my body, and I come in under the thumb safety, and then I'm pulling it out, and then I transition, and then, so on top of the safety as I'm coming up, and then as I'm pointing to the target, you can even hear it on videos. You'll hear the click. Because I actually use the thumb safety like a striker control device. And so I know.
To clarify for the audience, you're talking about a 1911 style gun instead of a Glock.
Yes, I'm talking about 1911 style gun.
Yes. You kind of transitioned from how people hold the Glock with the thumb behind it to straight into the safety. And I'm like, well, people are going, where's my safety?
Yeah. And that was my mistake. And so, but like some people will, there's a school of thought with the 1911, and it's perfectly valid. If you are looking to manipulate that gun and you throw your thumb over that hammer, you've killed that gun. That's one of the arguments for an external hammer on a handgun is you functionally have killed that gun, because you're literally just blocking the hammer with your thumb. But I find that cumbersome. I just shove in behind and use the thumb safety, and that's why I've always been real comfortable with the 1911 as a appendix carry gun. Like, because I was doing the VP9 for a while, and I liked the VP9, but I always had to, be real careful. But again, what happened here is not with Half-Sack. He was in a hurry, probably, and it looks like he just put his finger on the trigger, as he's gotten a bad habit of putting his finger on the trigger as that gun's probably inches out of that holster, still pointing down at it, and he started to put his finger on the trigger. And he's been doing that for so long. That's why it's a real good habit to film yourself shooting every once in a while, even if you don't make YouTube videos, because you can start to see shit you do, and you're like, oh shit, look, my finger's on that trigger.
Wait, if you look at the bullet hole in his holster, you can tell that when the gun was being drawn, the bullet exited the side of the holster towards his previous full sack. Yeah. And so that tells me that he was pulling it. The gun was twisted out. So I'm wondering if it could have been damn hot outside and he was gripping harder because it was sweaty or whatever. Mm-hmm. Your finger comes off into that trigger guard. Your natural reaction is to squeeze down, grab for your life. Don't drop it.
Well, I used to work with a really good instructor, and he, when the Black Hawk, was it not the Black Hawk? What's the Serpa holster? Was the controversy was going on, and, he was like, yeah, I don't know. He's a big Glock guy. He was always carrying Glock 19 and, shot a lot. Like, that one gun had 30,000 rounds through it. And he goes, I was trying the Serpa holster, and, he's running drills and doing whatever. And one day he goes, the damnedest thing happened. He goes, I'm on the clock, and the beep goes off, and I'm going to draw, and I missed my draw just a little bit. So the gun didn't release out of the holster. So he started pushing harder to hit that button to release the gun out of the Serpa. And he's pushing harder than he normally would. This is all happening in fractions of a second. And he goes, I'm pulling that gun out. All of a sudden I realize my finger goes right, as the gun clears, my finger goes right on that fucking trigger. he's like, holy shit. And he said it happened on a time. He didn't shoot himself, but he was cognizant enough. He was like, holy shit. I fucked up the draw, and I'm trying to make up the time, and that's where the problem is. And that's what you're describing may have happened to Half-Sack.
Right. Yeah, I've had an oh shit moment where I had a Kel-Tec 380, the little, what is it, the P3AT? And
yeah,
it was, some keys got lodged in the damn trigger guard, and I was pulling that thing out, and then I realized there was something coming with the gun, and I stopped. And this was out of a sack, though. This wasn't out of a pocket. But when
out of a sack, no pun intended.
Yeah, no.
Was it a full sack?
Yes, because it never got shot. But that the trigger, the key ring had actually gotten around the trigger in there. So,
oh damn, yeah.
You need one of those little. That's why I never trust those little guns in a pocket, because I'm always afraid something will get in there with it, unless you have one of those little Kydex type trigger guards that you tie off to a belt loop or something.
Yeah,
they come off when you pull it out.
Yeah, that's real common. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. My nighttime shooters are literally getting very close, and we are at an hour. So I'm committed to doing more frequent podcasts. And so we covered the CMP, we covered Half-Sack, and we solved the the world's problems with CCW and U.S. territory. So I think maybe we should call this one, and we're not, we'll just, not do a blot or anything like that. What do you think about that?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, this wraps up episode 410 of the John1911 Podcast. You want to see more stories or pictures or links? Please go to the website at John1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night. Say good night, Mongo.
Good night, Mongo.